Hey, this is Gary.
This is Mike.
And Daniel. We're not professionals. We're just three addicts sharing our experiences, strength, and hope regarding recovery.
Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to other addicts and to practice these principles in our lives.
Welcome to another episode of the 12th Step Podcast. This is Mike.
And this is Gary.
This is Daniel.
Good to be back.
Welcome back, guys.
Good to be back. Good to be in town and to be here and to be gathered again. It's good to be back.
And it's a new year.
And it is a new year.
Yeah. And in fact, we're, 40 days into the new year.
I know.
Where has the time gone?
I don't know. We had kind of a hard time getting back together.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
So, listen up, dear listeners. We apologize for the delay in getting back together, but
we did say we were taking a break.
We did say we were taking a break. And now here's the interesting thing. As we were sitting around discussing, which is the topic of tonight's podcast, was getting out of practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think this, we've experienced that. We literally have experienced that. We signed off just before the holidays. I think it was right around Christmas time, indicating we'd produced 2, 3, or 4 podcasts and said, look, this will get us through the month of December. Let's get together after the first of the year. And now here we are, mid-February, wondering where the time has gone. So give us just a brief update of where the time has gone, because I can't tell you. We've been busy.
Yeah, we've been very busy. And do you know what? Daniel made a fantastic point before we started recording that we're reaping the fruits of
Recovery.
Yeah,
I mean, how much time did we waste in our addictions, and now that time and effort's going elsewhere?
Yeah. And part of the reason that we're so busy is I know that with my work and my family and my relationship thing, all of those things have prospered.
Yeah.
And have started to take a higher priority in my life.
Right.
You know,
Which is
as it should be.
Very much
Yes.
part of recovery.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
I think mine is essentially the same
Yeah.
thing. I've had an opportunity to reevaluate many things with my wife and our family circumstance and with our children and back and forth with travel, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm amazed at how much the priority has changed, all in a good way. But it's taken a lot. It's taken its toll on us being able to get back together.
But it's exactly the kind of problems that you want to have.
Exactly.
You know, and it's also, I think, really nice. It's really nice evidence in my life that I can look at it and go, it really works.
Yeah.
Look
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah.
I make this sentiment all the time, but, I couldn't have imagined my life the way that it is now.
Right.
It's nice.
Now, I want to be clear about a couple of things. Taking a break does not mean that we've not been involved in our own recovery.
No.
Correct.
In fact, even on a daily basis. What it means is that the emphasis has changed. I still have a very regimented routine. I don't sleep well. I think I've mentioned that on this
Yeah.
podcast 225,000 times. But I'm finding that when I don't sleep well, I really enjoy studying. I always have my nose buried in 4 or 5 books at the same time, and so it could be 2 a.m. I can't sleep, and I'll spring up and start reading. And what I'm finding about all of that is that really aids my recovery. I have a lot of recovery books that are going on. Right now I'm involved with a book called The Happiness Trap, which is a great read. I highly recommend to our listeners that if you're looking for extracurricular work that around your recovery, this is a great book. The Happiness Trap. I'm not entirely certain I know the author, but you can look it up. It's well documented. One of the New York Times bestseller kind of a thing, and it's a great read. And I enjoy that. Now, that's to say that we may not have been able to get together for our own recovery podcasts, but that does not mean that we've taken a break from our recovery.
Right.
Correct.
So, and I'm assuming that each of you experienced the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've definitely been focused on my recovery. There's things, even though you're in recovery, it doesn't mean that life doesn't throw challenges or
True
throw
story.
curveballs at you. I've definitely experienced one within the last week. Despite that, because I've, held true to my recovery, been upfront and honest, even though, things did not show themselves prominently at the time in a favorable manner towards me. Things are now starting to shift back towards, okay, he was right. He was correct. He was being honest. So you just got to get through it. And my recovery has taught me that, because in the past, man, I just would have gone down the hill and been in that mud slosh at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
And this time, tools kicked in immediately. I reached out, I talked to people, just letting my feelings and my emotions, gave space to those, didn't go to the addiction, and I just kind of wrote it out, and things are starting to show up that I was right. Things, I was overwhelmed. I was doing too much at the company I was working for. They brought a new person on today. Today is day one, and she's like, how are you doing all this? And then went to my boss and said, I have no clue how he was doing all this. So that kind of vindicated me a little bit. And, there's other evidence that came forward on last Friday showing, I made a genuine, honest mistake. I wasn't trying to do something malicious. So, again, recovery steps kept the process was going through, so I wasn't overreacting. I wasn't being crazy. I was just being honest and true and doing the next right thing, and it's slowly working its way out. Why I'm in it still sucks, but
Sure.
I will get out on the other end and it'll be better.
But it's fascinating to me that, you look over, life doesn't stop, and it doesn't stop being challenging.
Correct.
Things don't stop happening. But, in the 9th step promise, where it talks about, situations that used to baffle you, we'll just,
Oh yeah,
you'll
be okay.
Yeah, you'll be okay. And see, I think all of us have had opportunity to, we've encountered something and it's like, oh no, I'm going to reach out, I'm going to handle it. And then what actually could have been disastrous was just another ordinary day.
Right.
That you dealt with it and you moved on with your life.
Well, yeah. I mean, I reached out often because, my head would keep going back to the negative thoughts of, oh man, I'm garbage. I screwed up, blah, blah, blah. But then I would talk to someone and like, how are you doing that? They would tell me like, you were doing way too much, which I already knew, but that negative, the negative self-talk would kick in, trying to drag you over the
How long have you been doing this now?
The job?
No, your recovery.
Almost 5.5 years. But,
All right.
Yeah.
So let's go back
4.5
6 years. How would that
clean
Daniel have handled it?
Right.
Well, I can tell you exactly how that
you'd have been
Daniel
upset,
handled it, because
Disastrous.
6 years ago I was let go in January after Christmas time. Told that, hey, you are the cream of the crop. You're the best of the best. That's why you're here. 2 weeks, Christmas happens. A week later, like, so we're letting you go. I was in depression for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, it was, it was like life was over. I was a piece of crap. Even though I did all these things, they threw me out. Like, it was crap. And then I got my mojo back after I got a job. I like put it out there, like, and I was playing the victim, and even my post then on Facebook, like, I got let go of my job after 5 years and doing all this work, and someone said, hey, send me your resume. I may have a job for you. And I'm like, okay. Once I heard that, I kind of came out of it a little bit. But yeah, someone had to throw me a line before I came out of all that. But this time it was just like...
See, this time you didn't even get into it.
No, I didn't. It was like, crap, this really sucks. But...
What do I do next?
Yeah, what do I do next? And I started talking to people, letting the feelings out. And then I went to fix my resume.
Exactly.
But at this point, I may not even need to go that route and look for a new job. Things may come back and the situation will resolve itself, and I'll be back to where I was, which is fantastic. But I just had to not dive into the swirling toilet bowl.
Sort of the beauty of things that used to baffle us.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, no, it really is, and that's another thing that I kept, in my journal, my gratitude journal. I kept writing down. I'm really grateful that I didn't
Lose it
like I did, when I lost my job back in 2019.
And do you know what? That's a nice place to be, and it's encouraging because you realize what I'm doing is actually working.
Right.
Yeah.
It's worth the effort, and
Yeah. I think also this is a great time to evaluate how we did through the holidays.
Yeah.
All right.
I had a remarkable time from Thanksgiving, not Thanksgiving, I'm sorry. Halloween typically kicks it all off as a time for the start of the holidays. My spouse has a birthday right during that period of time as well, so we move right from birthday to Halloween, and then right immediately, it's as fast as it can be, to Thanksgiving, and then there's never enough time to get ready for Christmas. So all of that time is just a blur, and really in the past were some of the worst for me to act out, just because the strain on money, the strain on relationships, the strain on finding the perfect gift, and having family around. I have a very difficult family of origin situation for me all the time, and so all of that just added to, which made January a very difficult month for me, usually. And I've had a remarkable holiday season, probably one of the best holiday seasons I think I've ever had in terms of just relaxing and being part of. And I do know some of the things that saw me through. I wanted to be present. I just simply wanted to be engaged and present and part of everything that was going on, and that was a big difference for me. I'm amazed at the change that made. I cooked a lot. I washed a lot of dishes, but helping my wife with those particular things made all the difference in the world.
Nice.
All the difference in the world. So I had a great holiday season. I was part of the Christmas shopping like I had never been before. My children laugh still to this day. Their favorite memory always is to go shopping with me on Christmas Eve for their mother. And anything and everything was fair game. Didn't matter how much we spent because we knew we had less than 24 hours to get it under the tree and wrap. And they laugh about that today. And none of that existed this time.
Nice.
So
That's fantastic.
that's all part of sort of the recovery experience, is just feeling like it was good and it was relaxed.
Yeah.
So, and that makes January a great month for me. I didn't feel the depression or the pain and suffering that I typically had felt, at least all those years of acting out. So recovery Mike is a lot different than addict Mike was.
Yeah. No, I was in the same boat. Even though I didn't have my kids with me for Thanksgiving, I still celebrated with friends and family. I didn't do Christmas presents with my younger kids because we went to Disneyland for a trip. My older kids I bought presents for, which they appreciated, and I got to spend time with all of my kids this Christmas season, which has not been the situation in past Christmases since my divorce. We did go to Disneyland. We had fun. There was one moment where, I will admit, I got grouchy. I'm at the happiest place on earth, according to their slogan, and I was grouchy, and my kids were not happy.
Isn't that a character? That's another character too.
It's grumpy. But I'm sitting
grumpy, yeah.
We're on the Matterhorn ride, and I'm going through. My kids aren't sitting with me. They're in another bobsled, and I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, I'm grumpy. I'm in the happiest place on earth with my kids.
Well, there is that snow monster that jumps out.
Yeah, and
he's a little
I'm
spooky.
grumpy, and they're not happy. And so we got off the ride, and they've got this scowl with me, and I'm like, okay, this is day 2. And I go over, and I'm like, we have to sit on the benches. And we go sit on the benches. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm being a grouch. This isn't fun for you. I'm going to put myself in timeout for 5 minutes. I know that means you have to be in a timeout, but I'm putting myself in a timeout. And then when I'm done, we're just going to have fun. And that's what happened. I put myself in timeout for 5
really
minutes,
funny.
reevaluated everything, and then we had fun the rest of the day. And at the end of the day, my kids are like, I'm really proud of you for taking a time out because you were mean. I mean, I wasn't really horrible, but yeah, an 8-year-old saying that, of course I was mean. But old me wouldn't have noticed
Right.
that. It would have
Right.
just been, I just would have been riding the grumpy train of like, this is horrible. The kids are being mean. People are being idiots in line. And I'm just like, no, I'm doing this.
I've had a couple of times my wife called me out during some of these periods of time, and I'm amazed at my response. It used to be a sort of a confrontational, sort of moment, and now it's just a matter of, I'm sorry, you're seeing something. What am I doing? Okay, let me try something different.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and that's a game changer. That's been a real game changer for me.
Well, even when my son, my son called me out, I'm like, you're right. I was being grumpy.
right.
It was good that I took that time out. And it's like, yep. And then the next day we didn't have that problem.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. So it's been a great time.
I guess I should report too.
Yeah.
I think you should.
Do you know what? I think I've had one of the best holiday seasons I can remember.
Really.
Oh yeah. And the funny thing is that as I look back on it, as far as work and everything like that is concerned, it was one of the busiest and one of the most taxing. But because of the efforts to be present when I needed to be, things were taken care of. And so in those moments that I used to be really resentful or stressed out, it was just nice. It was nice to be there, and things were taken care of because we took care of it beforehand, and my wife and I talked about it. as I look back over the holiday season, I can't think of anything. I can remember being very busy and tired from different times, but you know what? Everything seemed to be really, really smooth.
That's great.
It was nice.
Yeah.
It was just nice. And
Yeah.
and honestly, right now, I'm even in, according to what my cycle would be, I would right now be in a really, really high stress time, and I'm not.
Right.
My work is busy, but I myself am actually in a really good place.
Yeah.
You know,
That's remarkable. I had a similar situation just for the kind of work I do. The end of the month of January is always a very busy time as well. So these again were typically, as I think back over, Addict, Mike, these were difficult times. Just classic cutoff for the kind of work I do. There's a lot of things that hit right at the end of January, and so these were difficult months. And to be in such a good spot, to be in a better place, and to see all of that, and to anticipate it and work through it, and to tackle it head on. Those are all keys of recovery. So I think we come back to the point I think that we started with, and that is that we may have taken some time off, but our recovery never did.
Mm-hmm.
And that's critical. I think that's critical for all of our listeners. It's a lesson to be had to say that we may not necessarily have been holding groups. This podcast may have taken some time off. I know that the SAA groups continue on. In fact, Christmas Day, if you were in a certain spot around the world, they would still hold an SAA group even on Christmas Day. They don't take days off. And those are great opportunities to get out and to connect with other addicts. But if they're not available, if things are not happening like we normally have, in fact, I think the group that you and I are involved with right now, we were off for 3 weeks.
We were.
That's a long time
And
for addicts to
it
be
was
away from.
really tough for them to go through that 3 weeks.
That's a long
for
time.
you and I, it was okay. We already had things in plan, but these
Right.
are individuals that are just starting their journey, and so that 3 week gap was rough.
Yeah, it was a long time. So the point being is that there are lots of things that people can do during that period of time to make certain that their recovery still moves forward in a meaningful way.
Well, and I think our point with was that even though we're out of practice with getting together to do the podcast,
Right.
comparing that to your recovery, especially when you're starting out, if you're not going to a group, if you're not doing your recovery every day, you're going to fall out of practice really easy,
Right.
and you could find yourself, relapsing.
Old behaviors.
Yeah, because those
Old behaviors.
they will sneak in pretty quickly, even years down the road. With this thing that came up, I still felt that pull.
Right.
Those things still jump forward. It's like, ooh, I can take advantage of this.
Yeah.
Your addict jumps forward, and if I wasn't aware enough, I could have been in a really crappy spot. When the event happened, I was pretty much given the choice of leaving or taking the option I had. Old me probably would have said screw you,
Yeah, man.
and walked away, and then I wouldn't have money coming in. I would be in a worse situation than I am now, and then they probably would have found out, oh crap, well he's gone, who cares.
Yeah.
And so, but because I was doing things and I was still in a good place despite the challenge coming through, I was able to move through it and overcome it. But when we're not doing those daily things, it's really easy to fall back into those old patterns.
No, it's a true story. True story. Good experience. Good experience. I think it was a great time. One of lots of reflection. An opportunity, a time or two, to spend some time in my own gratitude journal and to reflect on my own recovery and where I was at and some of the experiences I was having. So it was the last 30, 40 days have been meaningful for me as well, just in that area. I still focus on lots of reading. I have a fairly regimented morning routine. I'm trying harder to make certain I'm home in good time. My wife has made that perfectly clear that that's a relevant piece of our relationship, to be home at a good time, and so I'm working on that. I'm developing stronger relationships with my children. That's always been a difficult time as a result of this addiction. Those are difficult, strained relationships, and I'm amazed at how we've been successful in sort of mending some of that. So lots of good stuff happening. Lots of good stuff happening as a result of recovery work.
That's fantastic.
It's been good. It's been good.
Yeah. I've been reading a book that actually, the therapist that's running the group you and I mentor, it's called You. Let's see, hold on. You Are the One You've Been Waiting For.
Great book.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, most of us have probably been taught, that when you get older, you got to get a spouse, and that will complete you.
Right.
We do call them our other half, stuff like that. This book goes off a completely different tangent where we really don't need that. That's
Right.
just a companion to go through life with us. And we have to change our mindset that we're the one that shows up for us. Our parents can't, no one else can. It's always us. So it really kind of breaks that down and reconstructs that. And it's been really interesting
Yeah.
to hear that. I mean, that's a lot of what I've been learning through recovery and working with our SAGE group as well as our respective counselor. But this book has really put it in a different light that has helped out quite a bit, which has been it's been fantastic.
This author for The Happiness Trap, again, I apologize, I don't know his name. I'll have to look that up. But and I'm just starting into it, so it's not. But one of the important things for him is that when I start experiencing emotions of some type, his point is that I want to name those. I want to identify them and name them. And in doing that, just the process of identifying and naming what they are helps a lot. I'm amazed at how that is because once I know what I'm feeling and can name it, I can see the source of it as well. And that's a big deal. I can realize that, I'm feeling sad right now. Well, why am I feeling sad? Well, I had this experience earlier in the day, or I had this moment. I'm feeling embarrassed. Why is that? Well, it's because I didn't do this or didn't do that, or I did do this and I was called out on it. Whatever it is, but it's in that process of naming the emotion I'm experiencing, which I will tell you as an addict, I just experienced my emotions and then lashed out. And so the process of just slowing that down and thinking about that and naming it and then identifying the source of what's causing it is remarkable help.
The author's name is Russ Harris.
There it is.
I just looked it up.
Thank you. And thank you, Russ Harris.
Yeah.
That's a great book.
So, next question is what's the next right thing to do? What comes next?
For me, what comes next? I have a couple of things that I'm dealing with that are health related, that are very much part of my addictive behavior. And I think that in the past, I probably lumped those all together and didn't necessarily see the distinctive side of each of those. And I'm in a good enough spot now that I can start peeling those things apart and dealing with them individually. And so I'm working on trying to resolve some of those health issues that were so much a part of my addictive behavior and related addictions. And I can see what I need to do. That's a big piece of it, is just identifying what it is I need to do. So that's where I'm at. That's kind of the stuff I'm working on.
Yeah,
That's what's next for me.
For me, even though what has happened has sucked, I'm starting to see that there's a gift there. They brought someone else on. I'm unloading some of the responsibilities I've been having. I've realized there's a lot of the self-care stuff that I've enjoyed doing that I haven't been able to do. So this last weekend I wrote 3 chapters, which is something I haven't done in quite a while. So that was very fun to be able to do that. And I'm finding that I have more, even though the situation stinks, I have more time to do those things because I was doing so much to overcompensate for the fact that there wasn't enough people doing the work that needed to be done. And now there's an extra person that can take some of that burden off, and which allows me to do more. It sounds weird that I give stuff up and I can now do more, but that's the truth. So that's the next thing coming out there. And, just enjoying what's happening.
Yeah.
There's a reason it's happened, and as much as it looked crappy the day it happened, I'm starting to see that, there's some good things coming out of it.
Oh, that's great. How about for you?
Well, let's see. My wife and I just celebrated our 31st wedding anniversary. I like to think of those as my yearly miracles. Well, yeah, because we're still together.
Yes.
It's working and it's nice and things have been better. So I'll go through to the end of February will be we'll be good. I'll be mindful. March is usually when things would be really, really bad for me, but I don't anticipate that this year.
Yeah.
So on April 1st, it'll be 12 years for my recovery.
Wow.
A nice even dozen. And so I'm starting to look forward to what do I want to do? What do I want to do to observe that?
Right.
I feel like I want to do something just, I don't know. I haven't thought that deeply into it yet, but I'd like to do something.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Sort of a celebration of, if you will. Yeah. I hadn't looked at mine in that regard. I hit 8 right after you in May.
Mm-hmm.
I started in the month of May, and 8 years is no small thing to be to be part of recovery. So it's been and it's been lots of group sessions, lots of Saturday meetings, lots of Tuesday meetings, some of which I pulled back on, and finding new ways to just find expression and recovery, expression of recovery in my own life with my own family, and so all of that's been really joyous. It's been good. So interesting. Well, I think we probably have run out of time. I have thoroughly enjoyed spending a minute and getting caught up on this particular episode.
Yeah.
And it's been great to share some thoughts and feelings with our listeners. I hope their holiday season was as successful.
Yeah. In fact, we'd love to hear about it. We'd love to
Right.
hear your success stories. We'd love to hear about your challenges. We'd love to hear whatever you'd like to share.
Yeah. So with that, this is Mike saying, do the work necessary to find the peace that recovery can bring.
And this is Gary saying, do the next right thing.
And this is Daniel saying, find the humility in your recovery.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you like this episode, please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you find us.
As a fellowship of recovering addicts, Sex Addicts Anonymous offers a message of hope to anyone who suffers from sex addiction. Check out saa-recovery.org.